Welcome to our series on the 6 mistakes that people make when they're telling stories at work for business. We are going to dive in today about mistake number 1, the "we're all perfect around here" story. I don't need to sell you on stories. You know how impactful they are because they impact you as a human being every single day. Every piece of advertising tells a story. You will have listened to stories at work. You will read books. You will watch movies. They are all story-based. As human beings, we digest them whole. We absolutely love them. So I don't need to sell you on the power of story. And the success story is a story that we would reach for and use very, very commonly, particularly in leadership positions, or if you own your own business when you're selling to clients. I was at a conference earlier this year, and I was in the main hall doing a little bit of networking, and I was hearing people coming out of the main speaker rooms. There was 3 speaker rooms. And I can't tell you the number of people that came out and said something along the lines of, I am sick to death of hearing all these success stories, all this grandstanding. Does no one ever make a mistake? And it was really interesting, the number of people that were coming out complaining about having been sort of fed these stories about somebody else's perfection and how off-putting it was. So success stories are really important. We do need to use them to help our clients, our teams, our strategic partners understand why we're a good match, why we're a good person to work with or organization to work with. But we do need to show ourselves in a good light. But if we're not showing any contrast, then it does come across as being boastful or grandstanding. And we elevate ourselves to positions of such perfection that people sort of begin to say, well, it's not the same. I'm different from them. That will never work for us. Or it just turns them off completely. So we really need to show contrast in our stories. So how can you avoid this? Well, number 1, you need to air your dirty laundry in public. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in here. This does need to be carefully curated, right? You're not going to share all of your dirty laundry because that would not be an effective success story. But there will have been points in the process, in the project, whatever it might have been, where things did not go well. And it's so, so important to share those challenges. How did they come about? How did you not see them coming down the road? It's really important to show that the road was not perfect, that you didn't start here and finish here and everything was fine along the way. It's just not human. It doesn't feel real and it's not relatable. If you want to be inspiring, which I suspect you do, if you're telling a success story, your overall intention is to be inspiring to your audience. If you want to do that, you've got to show them the setbacks. So you really do need to air some of your carefully curated dirty laundry in public when you're telling a success story. Number 2, take your time to teach the lessons. So we know from the dirty laundry piece that there were obstacles, there were roadblocks, there were issues, there was conflict, there were real challenges. And that might have been monetary challenges, it could have been human challenges, it could be innovation challenges, it could be challenges like the global pandemic, whereby nobody had suspected that was coming, bar a few intellectuals, and we were all taken a little bit by surprise. So talk about those obstacles and talk about them very, very clearly, and don't cover up if you didn't see them coming down the line. So the point is, there were those obstacles. Now here is your opportunity to say to the audience how you found workarounds. What did you do? Where was the innovation? Where was the tenacity? Where was the drive? How did you create the inspiration in your teams to get beyond this particular obstacle? Those are really interesting to an audience. Share your strategy. So don't kind of hide them away. Don't protect them unless obviously it is pure IP. But share what you can share with your audience. Give them something that you have done in order that they can take it away and do it with their teams. That feels like incredible value to your audience. So not only are you showing them success, but you're giving them something as well. They're going to find that very valuable, very inspirational, and also memorable. So mistake number 3 that I see in success stories is taking a bit too much of the credit and not giving it where it was due, or giving all of the credit away and not taking any of the credit for yourself. So we need a real balance between the credit that you're giving out and the thank yous that you are showing, the gratitude for your teams, for whomever helped you with the innovation piece, or overcoming the obstacles. We need to show gratitude, but we also need to take some credit for ourselves. And there needs to be this lovely balance between the two. And don't forget to acknowledge luck. If luck was part of the process, then acknowledge it. Somebody happened to come along at the right time. The client happened to have this issue when you had the correct solution for their problem. Acknowledge luck, okay? Not everything is perfectly timed all of the time. So acknowledge that if that comes up. Mistake number 4 is making it accessible. So sometimes we just really need to consider that audience. Are they purely technical? So do they speak the same language as you? So if you're a medic and you're speaking to a medical audience, use medical language. If you are a tech person and you've got a pure tech audience, use tech language. It is a shortcut. It's helpful for everybody. But don't assume that everyone in your audience knows all of the lingo and that you do. So make sure it is accessible. But if you've got a mixed audience or a non-technical audience, you need to make your success story accessible. So if you use a load of acronyms, if you use a load of language that is very specific to your niche, it just makes it less accessible to that bigger audience. So make sure you strip out any of the jargon, anything that might provide a barrier between you and the other, because otherwise your success stories just not worth telling, because they're not going to get the point. And finally, and I will say this probably about all the mistakes that I hear around storytelling, is we need to make it come alive. We need to own the story. So that means, what energy do you need to bring to this story? At what point in the story? What language do you need to bring to this story to really make it come alive? How are you going to use your voice? How are you going to use gesture to make sure your audience are really drawn in and drawn along with this story right to its conclusion? So, to avoid making mistake number 1, we are all perfect around here, and polish your little halo. These are the things that you can do to avoid that. Air your dirty laundry in public, but make sure it's curated laundry, not everything. Explain the lessons. So what did you learn? How have you created strategies and life hacks and business hacks to get around it? Share your strategies if you can. Show gratitude. Acknowledge luck. Acknowledge your team. Acknowledge the input that you personally had, but make sure it's even-handed. Make sure it's accessible. So think about your audience. What language do they need to hear in order that this success story is really going to land with them? And final one, make it live. Tell the story, own the space, own the fact that you're telling a story, make it enjoyable for your audience. That's it from me today. If you've enjoyed this video, please make sure that you subscribe, comment, like, share this video with whomever you think it would be useful. There are 5 other videos in this series talking about the 6 mistakes that we can make when telling stories. So make sure you subscribe and watch the playlist. Take care, and we'll speak to you really soon. Bye for now.